Light a candle of hope when chaos knocks upon your door. Light a candle of purpose when all seems torn asunder. Light a candle of resistance when the powers of oppression loom large. Light a candle of community when the world seems intent to tear us all apart. In the face of violence, the systemic injustice of a nation mired in pain, the teetering of the democracy we thought would never waver. Eliminate chaos. We gather and pray. We gather and pray.
I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river in my soul. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river in my soul. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain in my soul. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain in my soul. I've got love like an ocean. I've got love like an ocean. I've got love like an ocean in my soul. I've got love like an ocean.
I'm so sorry I was late.
Like an
If there's any
ocean.
chance you
I've
can
got
call,
love
I overslept
like
with
an
the
ocean
dentist.
in my soul. I've got pain like an arrow. I've got pain like an arrow. I've got pain like an arrow in my soul. I've got pain like an arrow. I've got pain like an arrow. I've got pain like an arrow in my soul. I've got strength like a mountain. I've got strength like a mountain. I've got strength like a mountain in my soul. I've got strength like a mountain. I've got strength like a mountain. I've got strength like a mountain in my soul.
Good morning and welcome. Welcome to our live Zoom service. Welcome to River Road Unitarian Universalist Congregation. I'm Reverend Amanda Weatherspoon, your Associate Minister. This is a place of community, spirit, and service, where we're invited to bring the fullness of our experience this day and all days. Welcome to those of you watching with us right now in this Zoom watch party. Welcome to those of you who might be watching later on YouTube or listening on the podcast. Our monthly worship theme here in January is that of imagination. We're encouraged to explore these themes of imagination in our small groups, here in our worship service, and in the work that we do as a community, knowing that we are imagining the ways that we are choosing to live into this community, how we show up for each other, and how we show up for the world. If you're new with us this morning and you'd like to connect to get more information, You can drop us a line in an email. You can email membership@rruuc.org. Let us know about yourself and the ways that you'd like to connect. On this day and all other times that we gather, we do this knowing that it is through community that we are stronger, that we're capable of more than we are individually or alone, and that communities like ours can show up and be present in these moments of difficulty, in these moments of chaos and uncertainty, that there is something holding each one of us. And here we are once more. And in that spirit, come, let us worship together. You can join us for our opening hymn with Jan and Cliff live at their house.
Good morning, everybody. The hymn is "When I Am Frightened" by Shelley Jackson Denham. The words are in the chat. And because this is a less familiar hymn, Cliff's going to play the tune first, all the way through, and then let's sing together. When I am frightened, will you reassure me? When I'm uncertain, will you hold my hand? Will you be strong for me? Sing to me quietly. Will you share some of your stories with me? If you will show me compassion, then I may learn to care as you do. Then I may learn to care. When I am angry, will you still embrace me? When I am thoughtless, will you understand? Will you believe in me? Stand by me willingly. Will you share some of your questions with me? If you will show me acceptance, then I may learn to give as you do. Then I may learn to give. When I am troubled, will you listen to me? When I am lonely, will you be my friend? Will you be there for me? Comfort me tenderly. Will you share some of your feelings with me? If you will show me commitment, then I may learn to love as you do. Then I may learn to love.
Good morning. I'm Beth Iwakura, your Director of Religious Education. This Wednesday evening, after all the events of the day, I met with the coming of age youth and then with more youth at our weekly game night. One of the things we talked about, among many, many things, was how to find accurate information It was really hard. We were correcting each other, and some things no one really knew for sure what had happened. And it made me think about how we're all getting our news inside our own little bubbles and how that affects us and our relationships, which also led me to this story. It's by Reverend Christopher Bice with a few adaptations from me, called God's Hat. So there once was a town, and on this very, very special day, God came to their town and was walking right down the middle of the street. Amazing. People gathered to see the wonder that was God. One side of the street said, "Oh my goodness, look, what an amazing, amazing pink hat God has. It's glorious." The people on the other side of the street looked really confused. They said, no, that it's not pink. It's glorious for sure, but it's a purple hat. It's got these really interesting lines on it, and it glows a little if you look at it right. It's purple. And the other people on the other side of the street said, no, it's pink. No, it's purple. No, it's pink. No, it's purple. And the arguments got really heated, really heated. And they continued to argue and argue and argue. And it got so bad, they hated each other so much that they decided to build a wall down the middle of their town. Now, people on the pink side built buildings all out of pink where they could go to worship the God of the pink hat. And people on the purple side did the same with purple everywhere. And they never really talked to each other much after that because of this wall down the middle of the town. One day, God appeared again, sitting on the wall, straddling the wall. And people from the town, of course, gathered again because they were really curious. They had questions. Someone on the pink side said, "God, would you please tell the people on the other side of this wall that your hat that you wore here those weeks ago was actually pink?" And the people on the purple side said, "No, God, that's not how it is. You know that's not how it is. It was purple. Tell them we were right." And God just sat there and laughed and said, "Oh, my people, that is one of my favorite hats. It's this one, right? It's pink on one side and purple on the other. What could be more perfect? I can wear almost anything with it. It's glorious." And then God slowly disappeared. Someone from the pink side came up to the wall and removed a stone. And then someone on the purple side did the same. And together they tore down the wall. The end.
What a week. What a time. What walls keep us from each other. Good morning. I'm Reverend Nancy McDonald Ladd, your senior minister. It is my task to start us off with announcements, and I am reminded that one thing I have preached for a great many years is that it is the task of people of goodwill and of institutions of great power to do the best things in the worst of times and to hope them in the most calamitous. Indeed, the things we do in congregational life, the activities, the programs, the things we get up to, it is our way of doing the best things in the worst of times, committing ourselves time and time again to learning, to serving, to growing, to being better and more whole than we were yesterday. And so in that spirit, our announcements bring us activities and programs and opportunities to give and serve that will help you to do what you can to learn what you can right now when it matters most. We're delighted today that our Contemporary Issues Forum comes back this week in virtual format from 11:45 to 12:45 right here on Zoom. Peter Wilson will reflect this Sunday on national military challenges that face the new administration, If you didn't get the Zoom link, check again. It came alongside your link for this service, and we will resume the Contemporary Issues Forum CC&C every second Sunday of the month. We are glad to have it back. Our family ministry program is also happy to remind you that the family ministry scavenger hunt on the River Road grounds is happening right now. Families are invited to come to River Road, explore the beautiful grounds with a printed or audio guide. Information and links are available online and in the e-weekly. The River Road Earth Ministry would also like to invite all of us to a discussion of social justice and climate change right here in Montgomery County. The county has released a climate action plan, which will drastically reduce carbon pollution, but there is concern that the plan may adversely impact communities that are already vulnerable. We need to ask the hard questions. We need to dig in to find real answers. And so on January 19th from 7:30 to 9, we'll have a presentation from county officials, a Q&A discussion hosted by the Montgomery County Faith Alliance for Climate Solutions, whose leadership is drawn from right here in our congregation. You need to RSVP ahead of time. I'll share the RSVP link in chat in just a moment, and we hope you'll join in. Also, next Sunday, our Martin Luther King food drive is coming up. January 17th, 1 to 3 p.m., you can contribute non-perishable food for delivery to Manna, which is having more need and more demand for their services than perhaps ever before. There is a list of the most needed foods in your e-weekly. You can watch for more details. Thank you for your generosity. Get ready to show up and to give everything you can now more than ever next Sunday. And finally, if you feel yourself called to count yourself among this band of spiritual seekers and justice makers at River Road, you can become a member at our new member book signing ceremony on Zoom next Sunday, the 17th at 11:30, right after the Sunday service. You can contact membership at ruuc.org with any questions. It is our great honor to weave the tapestry that is this place, knowing that every single thread is different and only together are we more whole. We also move today into a time of joys and of concerns. This week, our prayers and our efforts that are more than prayer stand with the ongoing support of democracy in these United States. Our hearts break for our city, for the blatant display of rising anti-democratic power in the hands of a mob. I do not always have the words, but we share our values in every way we can. For the lawmakers who were targeted, for the families who were afraid, for the workers, the custodians, the aides, the journalists, the public servants who work in the Capitol and who cleaned up in the aftermath, for those lives lost, including Capitol Police Officer Brian Sicknick, and for 4 others who came to this place, our nation's capital, in the lure of a great big lie. We hold the anxiety of not knowing what comes next. We hold the gratitude for all that democracy has accomplished this week, the surety that the most steadfast servants of the people's house will continue in the work that only they can do. We lift up all those who in the midst of so much did the work to make democracy serve us all. We continue, of course, to hold those mourning and hoping in the presence of coronavirus, especially among the ones we love. Here in our congregation, coronavirus comes closer and closer to home, indeed dwells right within our home. Pamela Huffman now mourns the passing of her grandfather, Charles Pruitt, who died at 102 years of age from the virus, and others among us, named and unnamed, work and worry for friends and for family and for ourselves. For all those with similar diagnoses and different trajectories, all those whom we cannot visit, even when all we want in the world is to look upon each other's faces, we extend our love over space and technology, and we are here. Every day we are here. We are grateful for every healthcare worker, every care provider, every one of us who has received the vaccination in the last 2 weeks. We know that the next phase of vaccinations here in Maryland and DC will include many of the seniors in our congregation and beyond. If you need help accessing your vaccine or information about how that will be available, contact us at pastoralcare@rruuc.org. Look for more information this week from our COVID-19 task force. For now, let every single vaccination, just like every vote counted in a democratic government, let every single vaccination and every single time the people's voice is heard bring relief and gratitude. May there be joy alongside the pain, starting perhaps with you, starting perhaps in your heart. May it be so.
This morning's prayer comes from Jan Richardson, blessing in a time of violence, which is to say this blessing is always, which is to say there is no place this blessing does not belong to cry out in lament, to weep its words in sorrow, to scream its lines in sacred rage, which is to say there is no day this blessing ceases to whisper into the ear of the dying, the despairing, the terrified, which is to say there is no moment this blessing refuses to sing itself into the heart of the hated and the hateful, the victim and the victimizer, with every last ounce of hope it has, which is to say there is none that can stop it, none that can halt its course, none that will still its cadence, none that will delay its rising, none that can keep it from springing forth from the mouths of us who hope, from the hands of us who act, from the hearts of us who love, from the feet of us who will not cease our stubborn acting, aging, marching, until this blessing has spoken its final word, until this blessing has breathed its benediction in every place, in every tongue. Peace, peace, peace. Now, won't you join us in singing? There is more love somewhere.
There is more love somewhere. There is more love somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more love somewhere, more hope. There is more hope somewhere. There is more hope somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more hope somewhere. There is more peace somewhere. There is more peace somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more peace somewhere. More joy. There is more joy somewhere. There is more joy somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more joy somewhere.
There is more joy right here. Joy in giving, joy in generosity. And this is a generous community. This is a community where giving is a part of our spiritual practice and our expression of faith and community together. Each week at River Road, we have an opportunity to practice this generosity through our giving. What we give goes towards building this community, our programs, our staff, the outreach that we do, and everything that we create together in these times. We know that this is a community that reaches far beyond four walls, that reaches far beyond just the people who gather together. We reach out into this world. We do things in this world and we do things with one another. There are many ways to give here at River Road. As you know, you can always mail something into the building still. You can get the address online and be sure to put in the memo that this is for the weekly offering. You can also go online to rruuc.org/giving. On our giving page, you'll find out more about what giving is here at River Road and ways to give, including online right there. Of course, during our virtual services, the most convenient way for many to give is through text to give. The text to give number is 73256. 73256 plus RRUUC and the amount. This information will be in your chat during our offertory music. However you give, whenever you give, please know that we build this community, each one of us, step by step, brick by brick, heart by heart. And even in these uncertain times, one thing that we know for sure, one thing we can hold on to and be certain of, is that this is a space made by each of us, for each of us, that serves so much beyond all of us, where we are more together than we could ever be alone. As the music plays, please give as you're willing and able.
So after the tiki torches burned in the night in Charlottesville, not so very long ago at all, I did what we do in times like these. I attended an interfaith rally in the face of that violence. That violence, which in that time, in that searing, scary week, we were given to interpret and make meaning of. And we were there together. Many of us, in fact, many of you, we were there because we needed each other and we needed community on that day. We needed each other much as we need each other this week. I personally needed to be with my friends, and I was so grateful when clergy from every faith tradition in this county, we rose to bear witness to the power of love and the depth of our responsibility for everything that lay ahead. I was where I needed to be, embraced by a community that was my own. We wept and we hugged and we proclaimed. And near the end of the service, a chorus of mostly Black labor leaders and unionists, they rose up to sing the gripping refrain of the Black national anthem. You know it perhaps, or you will know it soon enough. Lift every voice and sing, proclaim the lyrics of James Weldon Johnson's classic song, till earth and heaven ring, ring with the harmonies of liberty. It soars with power and with possibility and with belief that those harmonies of liberty will resound. In the Black church tradition, the people stand when the anthem starts. At Ebenezer Baptist Church in Atlanta, whose pastor will now serve in the U.S. Senate, the people raise their hands, eyes flashing toward the future they believe in and will work for. They grasp their neighbors on the arm while singing those words that are uniquely endowed to the Black American church tradition through a history of oppression and courage and resistance and resolve. And the lyrics carry on fearlessly. Without flinching, without denying, they sing, we have come. Over a way that with tears has been watered, we have come. Treading our path through the blood of the slaughtered, out of the gloomy past, till now we stand at last, where the white gleam of our bright star is cast. We have come over a stony ground, a path through blood and tears. We have come to stand here. And so I gathered together with friends and people of faith after the death and the terror of Charlottesville. I gathered with them led by African-American voices in that proclamation of pain and triumph. And after all the words and all the talking, some of it my own, after all the statements of heartfelt intent and healing and speechifying that a new way begins today, etc., etc., etc. It was that liturgical moment from a tradition that is not my own, which finally brought me to tears. Here truly, singing of the ground over which we have trod, here truly was a liturgy of honesty. Here truly was a public lament that we could not unhear, a cry out into the chaos that none could move on from too quickly. I thought here truly was an authentic encounter with the broken, open heart of the holy, and a declaration beyond all the slogans and all the speeches of what this nation is and has been. Here truly was church being church, holding the brokenness long enough so that we could truly confront what needed to be confronted, holding it long enough so that perhaps once faced, we could collectively do something. I tidied myself up after getting all flustered in my emotion at the end of that service. My robe and my stole were all wrinkled and crooked, like frankly they always are. And I got myself together and headed to the door. And as I was beating what I hoped to be a hasty retreat, I overheard one of my friends, a white woman, much like me, a companion on many parts of the journey, someone I love and have fought alongside through one damn thing after another. I heard someone so much like me, someone I trust, leaning over to her friend to discuss how moving the service and its words had been. What a lovely service, she said. It was exactly what I needed. But that song, she said. That song with all the blood and slaughtering at the end, that song, she said, so ghastly. The service was so uplifting. It was just the message we needed. It was what we need to hear right now as a nation. But that song, so ghastly, she said, with a face like she had caught a whiff of something stinky in the air, and my heart wanted to stop beating, as if the aesthetics of reality are so unpalatable that the safe and comfortable among us would rather complain about their unpleasantness than begin to carve a way forward that for once does not tread over the blood of the slaughtered. My heart wanted to stop, and I wanted to scream, and I wanted to have some big eloquent words like I so often do, and I wanted to be all righteous by using those eloquent words to shout down the same old nonsense, because if I was honest, almost nothing else in the whole service mattered at all except for the searing honesty of that song. I wanted to do all of those things, but do you know what I did? I walked away. Because I was tired, because of my privilege and my caution, and the fact that I did not, strictly speaking, in that moment have to engage in correcting the fallacy that the only meaning to be made in the face of white rage comes from false reassurances. I walked away, never mentioning that the song is ghastly because American history is ghastly. Never mentioning that the song is triumphant in places because at times American history, and particularly African-American history, is triumphant. And that those things, the ghastliness and the triumph, they crash right up against each other, just like they did this week, over and over again. Never mentioning that the people declare words of slaughter and blood and power and possibility because such words in the context of our history are the only words that are true. I walked away, and I did not say out loud that people of color and those marginalized again and again and again in the annals of this nation's history are under no obligation to tone it down so that other people can be less inconvenienced by the presence of a ghastly truth like white supremacy. I walked away, have mercy on me, and I didn't say anything. Because then and now I had the privilege of soaring words less meaningful than an honest lament. I had the privilege of moving on into a life in the continued flow of the same old bloody story we do not want to hear, because then and now it remains too unpleasant and we want to move on. But this week, again, I hear calls in the air and through the screens, calls among the good people, among my friends, and even in my own heart to proclaim again some sanitized version of reality so that we can all move on. This is not who we are. I have heard time and time again this week. This is not who we are. This hatred, this bald-faced white supremacy and complicity with fascism, this unpalatable and low-class Trumpy nastiness, this is not who we are. The we in this case, it appears to me, being a variety of collective identities, depending on just who it is we would like to absolve in that given moment. This is not who we are. In various turns, various people have proclaimed this week that all of this is not who Trump supporters are, is not who the Republican Party is not who America is. This is not who we are, people say, as a way to redirect the eye and the heart from the ghastliness of the truth. This is not who we are, when in point of fact, this is who we are. We collectively in this nation, this is who we have been for literally hundreds of years. In this moment, when I say we, I mean we Americans. I mean we this country. I mean we the people. We, the denizens of the greatest democracy on earth, we who cannot ignore our collective and cyclical history in which the anxiety of a perennially disaffected, usually financially insecure and violently frightened white populace can be played like a fiddle by racialized authoritarianism to its own violent ends. The insecurity that is thinly veiled by white rage has been in us and with us for 400 years in an important and unavoidable way in this country. This is who we are. It is who we were in 1637. When a mob of white Puritans desperate to claim the land marched on native Pequot villages in Mystic, Connecticut, and slaughtered nearly the entire populace because they were afraid the colony and the power would not remain their own for long. It is who we were in 1863 when a white mob of working class New Yorkers killed each other rather than submit to fighting the Civil War for what they understood to be the foreign cause of the Southern slave. It is who we were in 1877 when white supremacist militias threatened violence if their preferred anti-Reconstructionist president wasn't confirmed. The same militias that transformed into the KKK, the United Daughters of the Confederacy, and the very progenitors of the militia forces that stormed our Capitol this week and threatened to return at inauguration time. It is who we were in 1921 in Tulsa when mobs of white residents, many of them armed and endowed with power by elected officials, took to the streets to tear down evidence of Black industry and wealth. When we, the Black leaders who are also we, rebuilt Black Wall Street again and again, always at risk of having it torn down. And it is who we were in 2017 in Charlottesville, when a white mob chanted that 6 million murdered people in the Holocaust was not enough. And if our leaders really believe that that we have seen this week is not who we, the people in this nation, are, really believe that it is not who we have been, they are not reading our history, or they, like me, in times of great privilege, have just kept on moving when the song got too ghastly to keep singing it. And I know that we, the people, are other things too. Especially this week, which is such a microcosm of the whole. I know we are other things too. We are art and innovation and progress and hope. We are grassroots organizers and the upswelling of the people's power. We are Ebenezer Baptist Church and the New Georgia Project. We are on our way to becoming the most truly diverse democracy in the world, with a multicultural voting populace organized and energized like never before. We are a nation of uprisings and mutual aid and tenacity. We are a place of possibility and courage that manifests in loud and quiet ways through those who are arising in this moment through the ranks to lead where we will need to go. We are all that too. And God knows I am aware that what is and what can be are not the same thing. That the bloody remnants of the past do not have to be the same as the beckoning future, but you cannot recover until you admit you have a problem, until you let that problem move to the forefront of your mind, even when it hurts to do so, even when you'd rather move on, even when you have the privilege to move on. You cannot recover from this or any addiction if you just keep taking the next damn drink. And it is no exaggeration to say that this nation has been addicted to white supremacy culture for 400 years. Why? Because we have made money off of it, often at the expense of our own people who had nothing whatsoever to spare. For many in this country, predominantly those among the white working class, white supremacy culture has been dished out as a balm of anger that is easier to take than the more painful truth that comes with permanent insecurity. As the entirely imperfect Lyndon Johnson put it imperfectly at the height of the civil rights era, if you convince the lowest white man he is better than the best Black man, he won't notice you're picking his pocket. Hell, give him somebody to look down on and he will empty his pockets for you. It is not somebody else. It is not a few bad apples. It isn't even just one very bad man at the helm of a very big ship that will correct course and steer in exactly the right direction as soon as a new skipper takes the wheel. It is who this nation is. It is us. As Eddie Gowd Jr., the chair of African American Studies, put it not long ago, when he was interpreting and making meaning of yet another violent American tragedy, 2 more mass shootings in one 24-hour period, he said, "This country has been playing politics for a long time on this hatred. We know this," he says. "And so it is easy for us to place it all on the president's shoulders, but he is us. And if we're going to get past this, we cannot blame it on him. He is a manifestation of the ugliness that is in us." This is who we have been for a very long time. In order to not actually invest in the well-being of all its people, this nation has peddled rage to the white populace like a cheap drug over and over and over again until the predictable outcome happens over and over and over again. Instead of attending to the actual needs of the people, this steady IV drip of disaffection and rage keeps the white populace of this country just anxious enough to be hungry for more, and we pretend like it is all genteel political difference. And shades of every contrary opinion, we pretend these things until it boils over like it always does, in the violent cataclysm of every single era in American history. And then every time, when the same old thing happens, just as it has happened before and before and before, those in power say the same old thing. A few bad apples prosecute the dangerous ones. This is not who we are. The addicts bear the brunt of the blame, and the oligarchs at the top who have been dispensing the poison manage their brands all the way to the bank, again and again. This is who we are. This is not unprecedented. This is not a blip on the radar, nor an isolated tragedy. This is not the work of one man. This is who we are. And yes, there are aspects of this moment that are unique in history, that are specific to the very particular choices and crises and conflagrations that led us to this particular crisis. But the underlying causes and the ongoing struggle are not new in the least. And I need to tell you that this isn't who we have to be, because that's my job. And I need to tell us all that there has got to be an off-ramp for the addicts. There has to be a way to start getting clean, to wean this nation from the rage. I need to remind us that all the grassroots organizing and political effort works, because it worked this week in the very heart of the old Confederacy. Organizers led by people of color put the work in to change the world right now, right in front of us, and it works, and all of the future depends on what we do right now, and all of it is true. But I cannot, in good conscience, finish this sermon by tying it all up in a bow and being particularly affirming today. I cannot come back to the beginning and make this story less ghastly just because we so wish it could be that way. Thankfully, there are other Sundays, and I will get back to my speechifying next week. And we will gather here again, same time, same virtual space, but from the sanctuary. It is MLK weekend then, and I'm going to talk about Howard Thurman and Jesus and possibility and hope, because that also is what we do. But today I cannot leave you or myself with anything more soaring or affirming or eloquent than a loving and honest look at where we find ourselves again. Let us begin from the place where we are. No other better, less ghastly a place. Let us begin where we are and move forward every single day beginning by being a little more honest, until in time we can be a little more loving, and in time yet again, a little more whole. Amen. And blessed be.
Each of us ministers to a weary world by Darcy wrote. There is too much hardship in this world to not find joy every day. There's too much injustice in this world to not find the right balance every day. There's too much pain in this world to not heal every day. Each one of us ministers to a weary world. Let us go forth now and do that which calls us to make this world more loving, more compassionate, and more filled with the grace of divine presence each and every day. May it be so. Blessed be.